Glaciers play an important role in shaping Earth's history, witnessing the rise and fall of countless eras. At the same time, they also bury many things, such as prehistoric animals, and ancient artifacts, from ichthyosaur fossils dating back 90 million years to the girls sacrificed to the gods by the Inca Empire 1,000 years ago. In this episode, I will bring you 15 of the latest discoveries in glaciers. These discoveries may be your first time hearing about them. If you are new here, welcome to subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit the bell icon, so you can watch more exciting content as soon as it's available. Alright. Now our story begins. 15th place, the Glacier Girl. In 1942, 4 P-38 Lightning fighters and a B-17 bomber of the U.S. Air Force encountered a snowstorm while on an important mission, and were forced to make an emergency landing on the Greenland ice cap. The crew was rescued, but the plane was left in the ice. For 10 years, these planes were gradually covered by thick ice. The most submerged was 76 meters below the ice. In the 1990s, a mission called Greenland Rescue began searching for these abandoned planes. They used advanced radar equipment to locate the positions of the planes, using a hot water high-pressure pump and mechanical equipment to melt the ice layer. They ultimately found one of the P-38s and named it Glacier Girl. After a difficult extraction effort, the plane was successfully recovered from the ice. It was disassembled and returned to the United States. The other 5 planes remain buried beneath the ice to this day. After the plane was flown back to the United States, a comprehensive restoration began. This process took 10 years. It involved a lot of machinery and technical craftsmanship to ensure that the Glacier Girl was restored to a flyable condition. In 2002, after a long restoration, the Glacier Girl finally soared into the blue sky again, a major wonder in the history of aviation. The 14th. Skis from 1300 years ago. In 2021, archaeologists discovered a well-preserved ski in the Diggevarden Glacier in southern Norway. It was later dated, confirming that the ski is at least 1,300 years old. About 15 centimeters wide, equipped with a fixture made of white bark and leather. The skateboard shows obvious signs of use and repair, indicating that it was heavily used before being discarded. However, such items are generally used in pairs. This also means that another snowboard may also be nearby. Until 7 years later in 2021, archaeologists discovered another snowboard just 5 meters from the first. Due to a lack of equipment, they had to temporarily leave it in the glacier. Days later, the team returned to the site and successfully thawed and retrieved the snowboard using ice picks and warm water. This piece is buried deeper than the last one. It is better preserved. He treasured it like a gem and wrapped it carefully. He took it back to the laboratory. 13th place. Fish Dragon Fossil. Located at the Tyndall Glacier in southern Chile. For many years, it has been covered by thick layers of ice. From 1945 to 2001. The glaciers in this area began to slowly melt, retreating about 5 kilometers. And in this area, archaeologists made significant discoveries. They found a large number of ichthyosaur fossils. According to statistics, there were as many as 76 in total. Ichthyosaurs were marine creatures similar to dolphins. They lived in the oceans approximately 250 million to 90 million years ago. Interestingly, scientists have also discovered a fossil of a pregnant ichthyosaur. This pregnant ichthyosaur contained a small ichthyosaur embryo in its abdomen. This is a very rare and valuable discovery. It provides scientists with direct evidence of ichthyosaur reproduction and breeding. By studying these embryos, scientists can better understand the lifestyle and reproductive behavior of ichthyosaurs. 12th place. Horses trapped in ice. December 2021. A heartbreaking incident occurred in the Yaroslavl region of Russia. 11 horses fell into a frozen pond. Unfortunately, the ice could not bear their weight and cracked. The horses fell into the cold water. When the local residents discovered this, they immediately sought help from the emergency services. The rescuers brought chainsaws and ropes to the scene. They first used the chainsaws to cut through the thick ice. Then they carefully pulled the horses out of the water with ropes. The rescue operation was very difficult, because the ice was very thick. Moreover, the temperature was extremely low. It was very difficult to operate. However, they did not give up. After 4 hours of effort, they finally succeeded in rescuing all 11 horses. After being rescued, these horses were sent for treatment of cold-related injuries and other ailments. Fortunately, the most famous is a 15-year-old girl, known as the Iceman's daughter. Research indicates that the Iceman's daughter may have been frozen to death in the ice. The mummy is remarkably well preserved. Her skin, hair, and clothing show no signs of decay. Her hair was meticulously styled, wearing a feathered headdress, dressed in traditional Inca attire. The food residues in her body indicate that she had eaten shortly before her death. Scientists discovered through analyzing her hair that this girl had a normal diet of vegetables and potatoes. For a year before being chosen as a sacrifice, her diet later shifted to more refined corn and lamb. It was buried beneath the permafrost, wrapped in bark on the outside. Archaeologists estimate, based on the size of the mummy, that it could be a 7 or 8-year-old boy. When they examined the mummy, they discovered that the interior was tightly wrapped in deer skin and copper plates. The archaeologists were very intrigued because they had encountered this strange custom nearby. Later, they continued to discover 88 coffins at the location of the mummies. Among these mummies, there was only one adult. The rest were all children. During their excavation, the archaeologists also realized that the first boy they discovered, his burial style is the most elaborate. The others are relatively simple. These mummies were all buried around the 8th to 13th centuries. Archaeologists are very puzzled by this strange phenomenon. They found that there are no wounds on these mummies. Clearly, they do not appear to have been murdered. They even asked people from the nearby town how they viewed these matters. But strangely, the town was established in the 16th century, which is obviously much later than the history of the mummies. Clearly, the residents of the town are just as puzzled about these strange mummies. Archaeologists still do not fully understand them to this day. 9th. The colorful world beneath the Antarctic ice. Our impression of Antarctica is that it is a desolate land covered in ice and snow. But is that really the case? In 2016, a group of Australian scientists sent an underwater robot with a camera beneath the sea ice in East Antarctica. What they captured was astonishing. Beneath the thick sea ice, hidden is a world full of life and color. Here, there are algae growing beneath the ice, colorful sponges and corals, vibrant sea anemones and starfish, fish and crustaceans adapted to cold environments, and bioluminescent organisms and extremophiles. The richness of this ecosystem is astounding. Its discoveries hold significant importance for scientific research. It also provides valuable clues for our understanding of climate change and life phenomena in extreme environments. 8th place. Zombie virus. November 2022, a French scientific team announced in a study that they successfully revived multiple viruses extracted from Siberian permafrost. These ancient viruses are generally around 48,500 years old. They are called zombie viruses. The research is led by Professor Jean-Michel Claverie from Aix-Marseille University. He and his team isolated 13 new viruses from frozen soil samples and water samples from the Siberian River. Most of these revived viruses belong to the Pandarovirus family. According to the research, the virus primarily infects a single-celled organism called amoeba. They pose a threat to both humans and animals. However, Their revival indicates that as global warming leads to permafrost melting, other potentially dangerous ancient viruses may also be released. Data shows that permafrost covers about 24% of the Earth's surface in the northern hemisphere. It only takes a 3 degrees Celsius increase. It could melt 30% to 85% of the top layer of Arctic permafrost. It is currently unclear which microorganisms will emerge from this melting. However, studies indicate that just 1 gram of Arctic permafrost contains hundreds or even thousands of microbial communities. We cannot guarantee whether any viruses that could end humanity are present. We cannot be sure. 7th place. The small mammoth skeleton from 10,000 years ago. In the permafrost of Siberia, a person accidentally discovered a body. After examination, it was found to be a well-preserved woolly mammoth. Scientists named it Sasha. Sasha was about 18 months old at the time of death, with a body length of approximately 1.5 meters. The preservation of the remains is extremely good. Fur. The eyes and horns are still intact. This is the first time scientists have discovered a complete juvenile woolly mammoth specimen. Juvenile specimens are extremely rare. They are usually very fragmented. The woolly mammoth is also known as the long-haired mammoth. They appeared during the Pleistocene, around 350,000 years ago, mainly distributed in the cold and dry regions of Eurasia. They lived alongside the woolly mammoth during the same period. They fed on low-growing herbaceous plants. Around 10,000 years ago, due to climate change, their habitats and food sources disappeared. Ultimately, they were lost in the annals of history. Number 6. Antarctic Fossil Forest. In 2017, a research team from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee discovered an ancient fossil site in Antarctica. These fossils are primarily composed of a tree known as Glossopteris. This tree thrived during the late Permian period, around 270 million years ago. This period is historically marked by a massive extinction event. 90% of species disappeared at that time. By studying the growth rings in fossils, scientists found that these trees could rapidly transition from summer activity to winter dormancy within a month. In contrast, modern plants typically require months to adapt to this change. That is, if a plant can quickly adapt to extreme environments, it's like having a magical switch. Last month, it was still a lush scene. Next month, the leaves will immediately fall off, entering hibernation mode, and it can withstand continuous sunlight and dark weather. Research around the tunnel also found layers of volcanic ash in the fossil bed. This volcanic ash contains zircon minerals. By studying these materials, we can accurately determine the timing of the volcanic eruption. There are also special plants that grow during specific times. 5th place. The mammoth discovered 42,000 years ago. In 2007, a reindeer herder named Yuri Kudi found a mammoth carcass. It was handed to the authorities for examination. Its body structure was remarkable. Later, this mammoth was named Liu Ba. The scientists found out afterwards that it died about 41,800 years ago. At the time of death, it was only about a month old. They speculate that this mammoth died accidentally. It may have suffocated due to its airway being blocked by mud while drinking or crossing a river. Further studies indicate that in its stomach, However, in January 1915, the ship became trapped in the pack ice of the Weddell Sea, and could not proceed. After months of freezing, the hull of the Endurance was gradually destroyed. It ultimately sank on November 21, 1915. The crew was forced to camp on the ice. After a series of complicated processes, they successfully returned to the United States. However, the Courage was left behind forever. Until it was discovered by the Courage 22. The submersible used was the Rain. It surveyed about 150 square miles of the seabed. Eventually, it confirmed the location of the ship. The wreck was discovered. The exploration team used high-resolution cameras and laser scanning equipment to meticulously document every detail of the hull. Due to the cold environment, the wooden hull has almost no decay. Everything on the ship is well preserved. The ship stands intact on the seabed. Even the letters of the ship's name can still be clearly identified. The hull structure is intact. It hardly suffered any damage. However, even if the wreckage was discovered, nothing could be done. Later, the exploration team decided not to salvage the sunken ship, but to leave it forever on the seabed, as a witness to history. Third place. A wolf pup from 57,000 years ago. In the permafrost of the Yukon region in Canada, a gold miner discovered a well-preserved wolf pup. This wolf pup was later named Zhu. In the local indigenous language, it means wolf. Through analysis of her teeth and bones, the scientists determined her age. The wolf pup lived 57,000 years ago. She was a female wolf about 6 to 7 weeks old. Her fur, teeth, and soft tissues are well preserved. But sadly, she is missing one eye. After analysis, scientists believe this little pup may have been buried when her den suddenly collapsed. The nest was covered by permanently frozen ground, which is why the body has been preserved to this day. Further analysis indicates her diet was mainly composed of aquatic animals, such as fish. This suggests she lived in an environment close to a water source. Moreover, DNA analysis of the wolf indicates she is related to the Bering Sea wolf and modern gray wolves. This discovery indicates that ancient wolves migrated on a large scale long ago, gradually dispersing across the world. Second, alien eggs. In 2015, a man in Lake McTee, Texas, saw a strange circular pattern on the lake's surface. The dense black dots in the pattern look like countless particles gathered together. It's very uncomfortable to look at. Upon zooming in, I discovered that there seems to be something inside the black dots. It particularly resembles some kind of. A man jokingly wondered if these were alien eggs. After this video was exposed, it attracted a lot of people's criticism. Most people had a negative attitude towards this strange thing. Not long after, a woman stepped forward. Actually, this is her work. She is a student at an art academy. These things were made by her using dough. But she didn't expect it herself. The dough actually froze. It turned out like this. First place. Mummy under ice. 1845. British Navy Captain John Franklin led a fleet of ships. They attempted to find the Northwest Passage to the Pacific. This passage was regarded as the best shortcut to Asia. It was of great significance for navigation and trade at that time. The expedition was equipped with the most advanced equipment of the time and a 3-year food supply. They set off with high hopes. However, this expedition turned into a tragedy. All the crew members failed to return. In July 1845, the ship was last sighted near Baffin Island in Canada. Later, the ship and 134 explorers mysteriously disappeared in the Arctic ice. Although the British Navy launched multiple search and rescue missions, the fate of the expedition remained a mystery, until the mid-20th century. It wasn't until 1984, a century later, that Canadian archaeologist Owen Beatty arrived at a place called Beechey Island. Based on historical records and a series of documents, they discovered the body of one member in a makeshift grave on the island. The member's name was John Torrington. John Torrington was a crew member of the HMS Terror. He died on January 1, 1846. His body was buried 1.5 meters deep in the permafrost of Beechey Island. When they opened the grave, everyone present was stunned. They found that his eyes were still open. The hair and skin are completely intact. The reason this situation occurs is mainly because the permafrost on Chukotka Island acts like a natural freezer, which preserves the bodies very well. The low temperatures are rich in ice, and also effectively isolate oxygen, and reduce the oxidation and decay of the body. Through the analysis of the skeletal and tissue samples of Torrington, The research team found that the lead content in its body was extremely high, reaching lethal levels. Betty speculated that the food cans from the expedition may have been contaminated with lead, leading to lead poisoning. This severely affected health. Additionally, it's heartbreaking and sad. Alright, that's the content we shared in this episode. What do you think about these 15 mysterious discoveries? Feel free to share your thoughts. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel. Turn on the notification bell. This way, you won't miss more interesting content. See you in the next episode.